And welcome back to Immigration Ain't Easy. I'm Mo Goldman. The website is immigrationainteasy.com. And my guest today is Elhadj Ndoye, and he also goes by L for short. L was born and raised in Senegal, West Africa. He came to the United States in 1995 when he came to study at the University of Arizona on a student visa. And L is going to talk a little bit about his journey as far as immigrating to the United States. But also, L to me is one of those people who's an inspiration, who has not forgotten about his roots. He exemplifies what we call in Yiddish a mensch, which is somebody who we should all admire or emulate. And he, even though he found his home, his place in Tucson, Arizona, and he built his life with his lovely wife Aja, he never forgot where he came from and the people who are still struggling back in Senegal. And he's taken his privilege of becoming an American and given back to the people of his land. And the children that he helps, he does it through a foundation. It's a 501c3 organization called the Forgotten Children. He started this organization by collecting clothes and shoes and medical necessities, and he would ship it from the U.S. to his brother, and he would provide it to these street children known as talibès in Senegal. And along the way, he realized that he could do a whole lot more, and he has since built a school and is changing so many lives by giving these young kids a safe haven, a place to get educated where they can be provided with sustenance, food and water, and to give them a future that will hopefully lead them out of poverty. And so, L, thank you for joining me.
It's a pleasure, Mo. Thank you so much for having me, man. This is a great platform, and I'm just honored that you have me on. So thank you.
And so let's just start from the beginning. Where were you born and raised in Senegal?
So born and raised in Senegal in West Africa, particularly in Dakar, which is the capital of Senegal, which was, founded, I want to say back in the 1857-ish by the French people, and became independent in 1960. So it's the heart of Senegal.
Did you speak French growing up? Is that the primary language?
That is absolutely correct. So French is the official language. We grew up, speaking that at school, and but we also do have a native language that is called Wolof. But since we were colonized by the French, it became the official language.
For people who don't know much about Senegal or Dakar, um, how would you describe the city of Dakar? Is it a metropolitan? Is it a smaller town? Like, give a little bit of an overview of what it was like over there.
Yeah, so Dakar, like you mentioned, very metropolitan. Uh, the city is vibrant. Dakar is one of those where it's guided by you think about it. Senegal is very coastal, so one of the best seaports we have in West Africa. So you can imagine the tourism. You talk about culture and the ethnic background that goes in there. But Dakar in particular, which is where I was born and raised, like I said, very metropolitan, very vibrant, very, they call it Senegal is called the land of Teranga. And Teranga, it means in Wolof, if you were to translate that, like the welcoming land. That's what Senegal is about. So that's why I always tell people, when you have an opportunity, definitely put it on your bucket list as part of one of those, African countries that you want to, go and see.
So it's a place where there's a lot of imports and exports that come through, I would imagine, being on a coast. And also a lot of people come to visit the beach, and I'm assuming the climate is pretty nice there as well.
Absolutely. I think you nailed it in the head. Climate-wise, very similar to the weather we have here in Tucson, Arizona. As a matter of fact, I was just talking to my brother this morning. It's like, yeah, it's still a little hot, but when December, kicks in, then the weather gets pretty nice.
So what prompted you at the time? I mean, had you already gone to any college or post-secondary schooling before you came to the United States?
So this is what happened. So I graduated from high school, and I had to make a decision. Either go to the university in Dakar, or what else. And back then there was a lot of strikes, happening at the university, and I was like, I don't know if this is something that I want to put myself into. And traveling was always in the back of my mind. So that's when I told my dad, you know what, I think I would rather have an opportunity to leave and go study abroad. And that's how it all came about. So before I even decided to enroll at the university in Dakar, I think I had made the decision that my goal was to leave and go abroad.
I just went dark here, by the way.
That's all right.
Nobody can see this who's listening, but I had to unplug the light and plug in my my computer because it was saying that the battery was dying, and so I had to do a little technical work on the side. So you had this choice, and you decide, you know what, I'm going to take a leap of faith, and I'm coming to the United States. Yes, and yes, so how did you end up in all places, Tucson, Arizona?
So, yeah, it's a pretty crazy story. So I talk about it in the book, and I'm sure we'll, get to that later on. But growing up, I was a kid, and a cousin of mine actually who went to Belgium for school ended up getting a scholarship at the University of Arizona. So he came here to Tucson, attended the University of Arizona, ended up with his PhD and all that good stuff. And I remember at a young age, he would come back and talk about Tucson, Arizona. He would talk about the university. So when it came to that, and my dad asked me, where you want to go? And the first thing that popped up was Tucson. I was like, hey, he did it. I could do it. And that's how it all started. And we were able to get a student visa for me to come to the university and attend the Center for Second Language because of the language barrier that I had, and that's how Tucson came about.
Had you spoke any sort of English prior to this, or was it just all French?
Not at all. All French.
Wow.
All French.
And had you traveled internationally much as a child, or like pretty much stayed homebound in Senegal?
Yeah, homebound in Senegal. I mean, we would go to different regions in Senegal and visit, especially M'bour, which is where my parents are from, my dad especially. But other than that, never been anywhere internationally.
So you get admitted to the University of Arizona. What was your initial impressions of the United States? Was it like what you had envisioned? Was it different than what you had expected? Or did you have no expectations at all?
I had no expectation, but, growing up, you watch TV and you see, they show New York, they show Washington and other parts of, the United States. And you're like, wow, okay, one day I would love to, go in there. So, you have that in your mind, but I'll tell you, Mo, the once you get here, for me personally, it was an absolutely culture shock. I mean, you talk about seeing things that you thought you could adapt seeing it on TV versus seeing it live. It was totally a culture shock for me from the people, from the climate. You talk about Senegal, yeah, it's hot, but and I came here. I think it was a month of June of 1995, and the summertime. It was absolutely hot. So all of those, the buildings, the different color eyes of the people, and all that was just absolutely a culture shock for me, for sure.
And how about the language barrier? I mean, were you able to at least get by initially while you were studying the English as a second language, or how hard was that to, kind of straddle the French speaking that you were fluent in, and then now all of a sudden coming here and everyone speaks English for the most part?
Yeah. It was very frustrating for me, not being able to communicate. So I started in the English program at the university, and you started, to learn, a few words here and there, and you start to put it together. But it was very hard and very frustrating. And one of the things that I had to teach myself is stop thinking French, start thinking English automatically, because I was doing, let's think French and then let's try to translate in English, and that just didn't work for me. So it was frustrating, but with practice and the willingness, because I told myself, hey, okay, you've made the choice to be here. You have to learn the English. You have to master it, and you have to be able to communicate. Because for me, that was the only way possible to move forward.
So, did you have a goal as far as what you wanted to study, or specialize in when you came here already in mind?
Interesting. I did not, and the only thing I remember my dad telling me, because my dad, was into politics. So I remember when I first, came here, started the English program. We talked, and he was like, "Okay, what do you want to do after that?" And he was pushing me into political science, but I knew I didn't want to get into politics whatsoever. So I said no. But in high school, I kind of enjoyed accounting. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll start with that. And that's what I did. I started with that, but my first semester, I was like, nah, I don't think this is what I want to do. Then I thought about MIS, but computer and programming was not also my favorite thing to do. And but I decided, you know what, I like to know and understand how things work. So the operation side of it, and found out that they have a program in operations management, and that's finally what I decided to do, and that's what my degree is in the business at college.
How far into being in the United States, or how long into that, did you start to feel more comfortable with speaking the language and conversing with others?
That's a great question, because a lot of people ask me that, and for me, it was the my determination to get the language down was absolutely high. And I would say my first 6 months I spent it at the Center for Second Language, but I was the type that would always talk to people. I was not afraid. I didn't have a car, so I would be at the bus station and talk to people. At school, the Center for Second Language, there's a lot of nationalities, and I noticed that, for example, the Japanese would be with their group, the African speaking that's, same language would be in that. But I always separated myself and always wanted to talk to other people. So I would say after the first year, I started becoming more comfortable speak the language. And like I said, I was just forcing myself. And one thing that I tell people, and they laugh, I was watching a lot of TVs also, a lot of cartoons. I would laugh and but I would remember those words. So that helped me out a lot as well.
So it's funny. I've heard a lot of immigrants who have used the cartoons or sitcoms or different types of television programs to help hone their English speaking, and it sounds like you had the same experience, huh?
Absolutely, it helped me a lot, and I always tell people, coming in here new that do that, watch a lot of TVs, and it helped me out a lot for sure.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you've written a book, and the book is titled Dream on Ndoye.
Seydou.
Seydou.
Yes.
I knew I was going to butcher that. Now, it's your memoir, and so how did you come up with the title Dream on Seydou?
Great question. So it was a hard choice because I had so many titles that were popping up. But with the book being a memoir and talking about my journey and the immigration, and of course the forgotten children, I wanted to tie it all together. So the dream that I had coming on here, the dream that I had building the school, the dream that Seydou, who's one of the students at the school, had. So I started compiling all that information, and I was like, okay, I think this kind of summarized everything that I'm trying to say in a very short title. And that's how it, came about. And once again, Seydou is one of the students that we have attending the school.
And we'll talk about Seydou in a little bit, but let me ask, it seems like there's a common thread throughout the book, and it's your father and your parents. But most importantly, you talk about your father consistently throughout the book. You've dedicated the book to him. Your father was it 1990? Did he become the mayor of M'bour?
Yes. In 1990, he was elected the mayor of M'bour. Yes, you.
And what was describe the influence he had on you as your father and somebody who it seems had such an important impact on your life and decisions that you've made.
Absolutely. Gosh, that was, I look at my journey and I think back of his journey with his family as well. I was the first one to graduate from high school in my family, 6 boys. My dad was the same. He's the first one that left and, went to France to continue his education. So a lot of, similarities between my journey and his journey when he was young. And just being, within the family, there's always that one that, does things first. And so the similarities between what he did and what I've been trying to accomplish, and just thinking about growing up and him raising 6 boys and the values that he was teaching us. And Dad was the type that he wouldn't say much, but he will do, and then just let you, see that. And every once in a while, he will kind of have a conversation with you about whatever experience he was trying to, teach by doing. So walk the walk, like they say. So he was very influential. When I talked to him after high school that I wanted to leave, he was the first one that believed that I could do it because he did it. And I remember him saying, it's not going to be easy, I'll tell you that right now. But if anybody can do it, you can. So he was a very influential person in my life, from the education, from being a hard worker. And I think that's one of the thing that I've learn from him that you don't give up. And Dad was just that type of person. He went through a lot of adversities, but he always worked hard and never gave up.
And you share the same name as your father?
That is correct. So Elhadj, basically, it's a title that you get once you accomplish the pilgrimage in Mecca as Muslim. So people that go to Saudi Arabia and do the Hajj, when they come back, they get that title. So if you were to do it, for example, they will start calling you Elhadj Mo. So that's how my name also came about, because I was named after my grandfather on my mother's side, who did the Hajj. I personally haven't done it yet, but it's absolutely on my bucket list of things to do, hopefully, before I pass away.
And the Mo, is that stand for Musa? Elhadj Musa?
Exactly. So his first name is Musa, which is another prophetic name. It's the name of the prophet. So that's how the Elhadj Musa Ndoye came about.
And your father passed away in, was it March 24th, 2022? He was 83 years old. And we'll talk a little bit about the school that you built, but did you dedicate the school in his honor? Or I think I saw that you have it's kind of like a little bit of a shrine up with his photo, his portrait in the school.
Absolutely. Yep, you're right. So Dad saw when I purchased the piece of land and had the idea of building the school. And he saw when we started the construction, and then for a while he did not. And unfortunately, in 2022, right before the school was about to open, that's when he passed away. And I was sleeping one night, and it's just in the middle of the night. It was like, okay, the school needs to be dedicated to him, and that's what we did. So that's why you mentioned the picture that you see when you go to the school, and it's all like I said, a dedication to him and everything that he taught me and helped me get to that point. And just unfortunate that he wasn't able to see the final product, but we dedicated the school to him.
And your father, I think, on almost a parallel level to what you did, which is where you took just a dirt lot and you built it into a school, and you created a place for these young children to cultivate their minds. Your father, on a different level, was doing that in his political role, as far as helping build the infrastructure and rebuild the roads and help the youth find jobs and success, economic success. Correct?
Absolutely. That is absolutely correct. That was the one that, till this day, when I go back to M'bour, people that, hey, oh, wow, Musa Ndoye was your son. And I was like, yeah. And they kind of, tell me again, everything that he has done, being the first mayor to build a hospital, the roads, the schools, the I always have a hard time pronouncing that word, but
infrastructure.
All the things thank you. It's always a hard one for me. But everything that he's done to build that community, to the young generation, allowing them to be able to find jobs. It's been something that I talk more about in the book. But he's just been a very instrumental part of M'bour in particular. Yeah.
Your mother, do you pronounce her name Day? Ladara?
Day. Yep, you
Day.
got it.
Okay, and she's still alive, and how old is she?
Yeah, she's still alive, and she will be 80 years old December 29th, actually.
And how was her influence on your life, and also, just being there supporting your father in his,
Hmm.
political aspirations and
Yeah,
everything he did? What was
absolutely.
her influence on you and him?
Yeah, mother was raising six boys. You can tell that she, first of all, strong, a very strong woman, but just the heart of gold that God has given her, uh, and very intellectual. Went to school, did well for herself, and I remember everywhere we lived, she was the mother figure for the entire neighborhood. The talibès that we talked about, I think that's when the virus came to me, seeing mother at a young age, taking care of them every day. They'll come home, we'll feed them, we'll let them take a shower. Mom would take our clothes and then give it to them. So I grew up seeing her doing that, just being that mother figure for everybody. Um, and she was there when dad was out doing his thing, as far as the politics and traveling and all that good stuff. And mom pretty much raised us. So she was able to teach us a lot of things that till this day kind of shaped who I am, to the point where even me as a banker, I remember mom worked at the bank. So I also see that, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of things that my parents absolutely just, taught me well, and just me seeing them do what they do, working hard and, just trying to make a difference. I think all of those things, helped, shape who I am today.
Let's talk about the talibés, and I I did some research on this and found that an estimated 100,000 talibé children have been living in residential daras across
Mm-hmm.
Senegal, and they're
Mm-hmm.
forced. The reason why this happens is they go to these Quranic school. The Quran, it's Islamic,
Mm-hmm.
and the teachers exploit these students, and they
Mm-hmm.
force them to beg for money, food, rice, or sugar out on the
Mm-hmm.
streets instead of actually educating them in the school.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I read it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like these teachers are taking advantage of it for their own self gain. Is that the case?
That is absolutely the case. That's unfortunately what ended up happening. But you think about it, back in the days in the 14th centuries when it all started, it had that spiritual base where it was a great thing. And it didn't matter if the child was poor or rich. Parents would send their kid to a dara to get that education, to memorize the Quran. And you had these scholars that were basically just doing that. And it was in the neighborhood. And again, like I said, it didn't matter what status that you were in. We all had to. I did that. I went to a dara, and my brothers. But as you said, it got to the point where you know those scholars were replaced by these, charlatans, people that greed, money, just started exploiting these kids. So child trafficking started happening. You have somebody that has 10, 20, or 50 kids that every day they go out and beg and bring him money, depending on their age. They give him a quota. So you can imagine. And that just started multiplying. And it just started becoming a way for them to make money, and the abuse that children would go through if they come back to the Dara with no money. You can only imagine how bad it got. Until this day, it is still happening. Here we are, 2024, and we're still living there.
So, what you describe is a well-intended tradition that was perverted, as you describe it in your own word, perverted by the charlatans. When did this perversion, so to speak, begin? When did they start abusing their power to these children? Like what years or decades?
So I started doing some research before, when was it? In 2010, when I started The Forgotten Children. I started, researching a little bit more, and I remember reading back in the 70s in Senegal, there was a big drought that happened. And so a lot of people were moving to different areas to survive, find water and, survive. So a lot of those people started moving to different places, and they took the kids with them. So let's say somebody who was in M'bour, decided, okay, I'm going to go to Dakar and I'm going to take the kids with me. And then they get to Dakar and they're like, wow, you know what? Here's an opportunity. I think I'm going to start sending the kids out to go beg. They have to bring sugar, rice, like you said, but also the financial piece of it as well. So I believe it is back then when they started moving across and trying to find other places where they could survive. That's when that idea for a lot of these people, those charlatans, came up, and they started exploiting it, and they perverted the whole, system. And it's been going on since then. And you think after all these years that, not only the government, but, parents that are giving their kids to these people would, kind of learn a lesson and say no more to that. But like I said, it is unfortunate when you go to Dakar. That's actually one of the first things that you noticed. The children out on the streets, and in every region that you go to now, it's so prevalent, and it's just something that I don't know if there is a remedy for that. What is the solution to stop that?
Is this unique to Senegal, or is this happening in other countries throughout the region?
It is. It is happening everywhere, and it's just not in Senegal. You go to different parts of Africa, Ivory Coast, Guinea, but the thing about Senegal, which I'm still trying to understand, the reason why, you have a lot of the neighborhood countries, the Guinea, the Ghana, the Ivory Coast. The kids are actually crossing to come to Senegal to be talibès, which is unbelievable. So Senegal, yes, you can look at it as one of the most democratic, most peaceful, countries in Senegal. We don't have the civil wars or anything like that, knock on wood. So the opportunities are there. And earlier, our conversation, I described Senegal as the welcoming land. And I have seen that and experienced it myself, where I would be out on the streets because I love talking to those. Every time I see them, I'll stop, I'll talk to them. And I've seen it many times where I talk to them in Wolof and they can't even respond to me because they don't speak it. They came and, migrated from another region to be in Senegal and continue to do that. So it's never ending, and it's happening everywhere.
And just to note, there are well-intentioned, and probably many well-intentioned, Quranic teachers out there who are respecting the rights of these children.
Absolutely.
It's just that there are, like you said, unfortunately, a segment of people who are abusing their power.
That is so true. And to give you an example, the first Dara shelter that I built it for this gentleman who was absolutely that, one of the most respected in the neighborhood, that was just a scholar, a good guy, didn't abuse the kids, didn't send them out to beg for long hours for money and all that good stuff. And when I found out their situation and where they were living and staying, I decided to demolish whatever shack they were in and built my first shelter. So that was one of those guys that we still have them, far in between, but they still out there trying to do the best thing that they can for those children.
I think a natural question that many would have, and I have this, is why doesn't the government or why don't the parents of these children do something or intervene? Is it because the parents are in a impoverished situation and maybe not educated and think that their children will have a better opportunity? Like what is the reason for that? That's something that comes to mind.
No, a great question. And when it comes to the parents, I think you described it so well. Their situation just makes them think that that's the only option that they have, which is unfortunate. And I say that some of these parents might see their kid on the streets and not even recognize them because it's been so long since they've seen them. They are such in worse conditions that I bet that there are parents that would not even recognize their kid. Now you talk about the government, and that's the $1 million question for me. It's like, why aren't they doing something about this? Every time there is a disaster, last year or 2 years ago, there was a Dara that burnt to the ground, 9 children gone. And then they are on TV talking about, yes, this needs to stop. They were literally having the police take the kids out on the streets and take them to jail or prison or something. And I'm like, you think that's the way to resolve that? Why can't you build schools? Why can't you build places where these children can go and learn and be taken care of? If one person can do it with no help and support, you, as far as the government, you should be able to do something about it. But unfortunately, that's there's nothing. Nothing is being done. It's just a lot of talks, a lot of promises. But at the end of the day, when the police was doing that, I think it lasted for about a week, and you started seeing the children out on the streets again. And it's just
now you said. Or I mentioned actually that Human Rights Watch had estimated about 100,000 students or children on the streets. Is that, in your estimation, an accurate estimate?
I'll even say more. I'll even say more because I remember back then when I started the project, it was hovering about 70, 80. So now we're talking 100,000, and I bet you there's more of that happening. Now, with Dakar, for example, being the capital, I'm seeing more and more of that happening. When you move to the region, let's say the M'bour and some of the villages, then you are starting to see less and less of that happening. But the fact that Dakar is a capital and they hope that they can make more doing it there. Every time I go to Senegal and I go to Dakar, I'm like, wow, okay, this is getting worse and worse. So I believe there's probably more than the 100,000 we're talking about right now, unfortunately.
What sort of ages are we talking about for these children? Like, how young are they? And are they predominantly male, or are there females as well?
No, age group, I would say hovers 4 or 5 to the 15, 16. That's the age group that I've seen. Now, the youngest that I've met was 3 years old, believe it or not. And yes, I've never seen a female talibè, girl talibè. It's the boys, and that's how it started, and that's what you see out there. But like I said, the age group could be anywhere average from 5 to 15 years old.
So, like, if I go to Dakar, and maybe someday I will join you, it would be kind of cool. If I went there and we get out of the airport and we go, into the city, I mean, are there groups of these children just like on the streets, just going up and begging, just
That's
coming
the
up
first
to
thing that you're gonna
whoever
see.
and begging?
Exactly. Especially when they see, a white person, for example, I'll call it that. Then, boom, you can see.
They see money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just that's the first thing you will see. It's like, wow, okay, this is absolutely happening. So, it's not a pretty view, honestly.
I always find it phenomenal that somebody who gets the privilege that an individual can obtain in the United States. And I'm not talking like, a millions and billions of dollars. I'm just talking about any, person who finds a decent life and a career and a family. And then they turn around like you did and they say, you know what, I want to do something and give back and give back. Sometimes it could be local. Sometimes it could be, within the region. And then in a case like yours, you're giving back to a society that's thousands and thousands of miles away. And so when did the idea to create this foundation come to light? Like what year and how did it grow?
It came about October 2010. And after a trip, like I said, I grew up seeing the kids, with my mom, and I was taking care of them and all that good stuff. But I left for 6 years. I didn't go back to Senegal, and then I started going back once a year. And then, sitting in front of our front door, you see, you can count 10, 30, 40 kids coming to you and begging, and that picture just resonated with me, especially. I left the kids here, my daughters, and I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. How lucky are we? How lucky are my children that they are born and raised in Senegal, in the United States, so they don't have to deal with this. So coming back that trip in 2010, that's when I said, okay, something needs to be done. I didn't know exactly what, but I just said, I need to do something to start helping these kids. Came back to the United States and started talking to people that I know in the banking, talked to a good friend of mine who's an attorney, and I said, I have this idea, I don't know what to do. And he gave me the idea to, start the nonprofit, make it a 501c3. And I started just asking for the basics, because for me, that was like, okay, they need that, because these children have no shoes, some of them no clothes, food, and all that good stuff. So that's what I started doing initially, to give them those basics, and then later on it evolved to the first shelter, and now to the school that we opened, so we can not only assure their safety by putting them in that environment, but give them that education. That for me is the way out, because you give them the clothes, the shoes, and all that good stuff, and that doesn't stop them from next day being out on the street and begging again. So for me, that was
and I think, I mean, you're in Tucson, Arizona, and so this is not something that you could just do on your own. And you talk about your brother, it's Mansour, right?
Yep.
You call him Mas?
Mas, absolutely.
Mas. And so I'm guessing, and obviously, from reading the book, it seems like there had to be a lot of coordination with your brother, because your brother is located over there. And so you coordinated with him to send him all these like shoes and clothes and everything. And then what would he do then? He would distribute it, or was there a place that they would distribute? Like, what was the process initially of getting all these necessities to these young homeless people?
Great question. So like you said, it required a lot of coordination. Him being in Senegal, me being in here. I remember the first container that I did. We got it. Everything took me about 6-7 months to put everything together. Found out that it's going to take 45 days for the container to get there. So I kind of timed it with my vacation and decided to take time off then, and pretty much got there at the same time when the container got there. So, but before the container got there, we kind of, planned it out. Okay, this is what's going to happen. First of all, we're going to need a place where we're going to store the stuff. Then prior to me getting there, also, you need to find out the good Daras, if I can call them that we could go and help them. So he was doing all the research then. And the container got there. I got there. We received it. Started, and I remember that first trip, I took my daughters with me because I wanted them to be part of that and witness it. So it was such a very impactful journey for us to be involved with that and for the kids as well. So all the coordination that happened before we got there and once we got there also, as far as distributing it, and that's what we did. We went to, some shelters, some daras. We went to an orphanage also, and, gave them a lot of things that they were lacking. So the coordination definitely, and mass, I talk about it in the book, has been just a lifesaver and continues to be, because with the distance, we can coordinate a lot of things, but if it's not, him being there, and it would have been very hard and difficult to accomplish everything we've done so far.
So how long after you started the organization, again, it's called the Forgotten Children, did you decide that it was time to level up and build a school?
So we started in 2010. I think the first container was in 2012, but in between we were just doing things to help them. I will go back, and then we'll just feed the kids as much as we can. Then 2013 came the idea of the shelter, which was the first one that we built. But again, it was always, every time I fly back to the United States, it was like, okay, what else can be done? Where can I find that sustainability that could help the kids and not let it be a Band-Aid anymore? And in 2014, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, flying back, I was like, okay, education is the thing that saved me. So I think that's the route that we ought to take for these children as well. And I was like, okay, let's start it, and decided to first of all find a piece of land that we could acquire. Did that, and now the biggest issue was, okay, now how are we going to build this? Where are we going to get the money? How are we going to finance it, and all that good stuff? But out of my own pocket, I went ahead and purchased that piece of land. Almost an acre of land, a farm that I actually purchased, and there was nothing out there. I mean, there was literally nothing. But I was like, the idea that I have to make it a school for the kids to be there, I don't want it to be in the city. It needs to be a little bit further away, so they can have that solitude. They can have that peace of mind to be able to stay in there and focus, and for us to help them as much as possible. So we purchased a piece of land very far from the city, but now it's growing a little bit. But so that's how that idea came about. And fast forward 2014-15ish, that's when we started just doing it phase by phase. With the foundation first, and then we figure out how much, more do we need, for the walls, and that's how we did it. It took us 8-9 years to finish everything, but and in between, you have issues that happen with, the builders and things like that. Dishonest people. It happened to us, twice. So we had to deal with that, and kind of extended the length of time it took for us to accomplish it. But yeah. We did it.
Let me ask you, you buy a piece of land in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any sort of like sewage system or water supply? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, how were you able to build and do that in a place, like you said, that is separated from the
Mm-hmm.
city?
Absolutely, we have to build all of that. So talk about sewage system, talk about water. We started with the well, and we're like, okay, at least that's going to start providing us with water. Then we found out that there is a gentleman that has a big water tank that we talked to him and found out that he could, from his area, we could find water pipes underground that we could build, and he would be able to provide us, water. So that was another expense that we had to deal with, but the well wasn't just enough anymore. Knowing that we're gonna have children in there, it was just not the way to go. So we ended up doing that, and so we had to build everything from the ground up, and be creative a little bit, and that's what we had to do.
Did you get any support from the Senegalese government or local, like, political folks, or was this just all done by individual donations and just the people who you were working with individually?
Absolutely. I wish I could say yes, the government in Senegal had done something, but unfortunately, no help or support from them. Everything was done by the local people here, individual donations. And every year I will, put an event together, which, is our annual fundraiser. And that's how we were able to, get this done. That's why it took a little bit of time. But everything was done by just the local community here, individual donations, and of course, my own personal funds. I remember twice I had to take a loan for my 401k to help. But that was my choice. That was my idea to come up with this. That was my willingness, and that's something that I wanted to do. So I did not mind. But unfortunately, the Senegalese government were not able to help at all.
Is there a name for the school?
The school is it's called CASCO, which is in French, Complexe Scolaire, which is the school complex of Elhadj Ndoye. So that's kind of how you would translate it. Once we decided that we're going to dedicate the school to that, then it pretty much ended up, being the name. So the school complex of Elhadj Ndoye is pretty much the name of it.
Can you describe the way the school is currently composed? Like, how many staff work there? How many students are currently enrolled? Do they wear uniforms? I mean, what type of subjects do they get educated on?
Absolutely. Yes. So right now, as of yesterday, because I talk to my brother all the time, we try to figure out things. We are up to 95 children, boys and girls. The ratio, I think we have about 21 girls, and the remainings are boys, which is something that is expected. The staff, we have 14 right now working there, which includes the school principal, the teachers, the cooks, the school bus driver. So a total of 14. The security guards, we have one for the day and one at nighttime. The youngest we have is 3. The oldest we have is 15. And we follow the same official curriculum implemented in Senegal. So the kids are learning French. The kids are learning also the Arabic and the Quran. which is part of the boarding school concept also, that because we have some we had to use that same those same regulations because it is an official school. The kids would be going and passing their exams and doing all that good stuff. So I decided I wanted to implement it that way, so they have the opportunities like every school in there. But the fact that they live there, they go to school, we feed them, we do the whole 9 yards. There's no kid going anywhere, going home or anything like that. They all intern and live there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you can imagine the reason why we have the staff we have in there that's 24 hours permanently taking care of them. They do wear uniforms, so they each get 2 uniforms plus sport uniform because the kids love playing sports. Soccer is very huge over there, so they do wear uniforms, and again, we do follow the same curriculum that is regulated in Senegal.
Do their parents know they're at the school? Do they have to sign any sort of document giving permission for the students to live there or attend the school?
Yep, absolutely. So, and it's important for me to explain that also. So, this all started with the street children and the impoverished kids. Parents that have no means to take care of their kids. So the school has that combination. But being that we don't have all the financial support that we need to run the school, and as you can imagine, it's costing me right now $60,000 to run this school between feeding the kids and the salaries alone. I'm not even talking about maintenance and doing that. So every month it's costing me, depending, $5,000 to $5,500 a month. So call it $60,000 budget that we have to be able to run the school. A portion of the kids we have in there right now do pay a little bit. Nothing major that can even sustain the school, but parents found out about the school and how well we're taking care of the kids and the level of education that they decided to bring their kids in there and willing to pay a little bit to help us. So we also have those kids in there. So it's a combination. I always want to make sure that people do understand that yes, our mission is very clear, and we help all the street children that we can. The parents that cannot take care of their families. But we do have a portion of some kids that are coming in and paying. So even those, like I said, yes, parents come in, they have to sign, everything, all the paperwork to give us, the opportunity to take care of them. Every first Sunday of the month, it's a parents' visit. Like today is actually a parent visit. So they will come, spend time with the kids, spend the whole day there. We will feed them all. Sometime I will post something on Facebook, and people will be like, "Oh my God, the kids are celebrating their birthdays." I said, "Absolutely. This is not one of those schools where I want to give an opportunity to these children. Like, they are living at home still." So every month, we put together a list of all the students that have a birthday for that month, and we will buy birthday cakes. We will invite the parents to come. Of course, those majority of them, they don't have parents, but the staff is in there, and the kids that have parents, we all come together and we celebrate their birthday. We sing happy birthday, they dance, and all that good stuff. So it's just creating an atmosphere where not only do they feel safe, but also have that home feel. It was very important to me.
So the school has like a like dorm, or how do they sleep there? Are there like cots or beds or separate rooms? Like, how is that
Absolutely.
structured?
Absolutely. So I designed it in a way where we have the dorms, boys and girls, and the classrooms. So very well designed. The boys have their quarters, their dorms that they, sleep in, the young age. So it's a two-story, if you think about it, the school. I just recently finally finished upstairs, so we can move the girls now upstairs, so they can have their own, quarters in there. And like I said, it just happened last week, and we were able to move the girls. But yes, so the whole 9 yards. That's the reason why I wanted to buy enough space where we could do all of that. I would say 90% of the boarding school that you see in Senegal, it's a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom that they convert and call it a boarding school, where kids don't even have a yard where they could, go out and play and run. And I think that's what makes the difference with what we been able to accomplish. People that go in there, Americans that, go with me. This has been 3 years now that I've been taking friends to go travel with me, and they say the same thing. And I always post for them to see what we've created with the school. So the dorms are there. We have the way it's designed. The dorms and the classrooms. On the other side, we have the kitchen and the restaurant where they eat. And then on the other side, we have the offices for the school principal and things of that nature. And a huge yard that the kids, will come out every single day, go out and play soccer, or the girls will play their games or whatnot. So it's absolutely, I wanted to design it in a way where, like I said, they have the freedom to be able to do everything that they wanted to do.
Do you have about 15 minutes to stay on with me?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So first of all, I just want to mention that the website, if you want to contribute and assist this organization and what Elle has built, the website is www.theforgottenchildren.org. www.theforgottenchildren.org, and you can go on there and make a donation or whatever you can to help support his cause and the cause that he has dedicated, a lot of his time and life to. Let me ask, being a Muslim, how much has your faith and your religion driven you and pushed you into doing this great work? Because I do feel that unfortunately, and we mentioned this earlier, this term perversion, there has been a perversion by many of what Muslim or Islam stands for. And unfortunately, a few bad eggs have, made it bad for other people. And then we see, the Muslim ban and other types of targeting against Muslims. What has that religion and your faith done for you to drive you to do this?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mo, for asking that question. I believe in my core that my faith as a Muslim has a lot to do with not only this cause, but the way I run my life, and help me accomplish a lot of things. You think about it, the 5 pillars of Islam, believing that there's only one God, that the Prophet Muhammad is his prophet, fasting, the Ramadan that we do, being able to do the pilgrimage in Mecca if you can't, and helping others. Those are the 5 pillars of Islam. So if you think about it, in my opinion, that's what we're here to do. To be able to provide for others, to be able to provide for the needy people, to be able to give a hand and give back. For me, it truly doesn't matter if you have millions of dollars in the bank, but you are not able to make a difference in somebody else's life. To me, it's just, and being in banking for all these years, you see from the rich to the poor. And when I see people that are not even believers, that they're not Muslim, they're not Christian, they not, they don't believe in religions, for example. But for me, I think my faith in Islam continues to guide me into being the best person that you can be. It doesn't matter what the situation may be. So it's a core value for me, and will continue to be, because it's what's shaping me to be able to do what I do on a daily basis.
The name of the book, we talked a little bit about the inspiration of it earlier. Can you talk about the boy that you name in the title?
Yeah, so the book, Dream on Seydou, a memoir of a Senegalese immigrant. I remember years ago, I was like, man, I would like to write a book one day that talks about my immigration, my journey, the challenges and the triumph, actually, that I had, and the successes. But it's always been one of those, okay, you put it in the back burner. And then once I decided, okay, I think it's time. I think I have lived long enough, experienced many things that I should be able to now put it in a book format. But I didn't want it to be just about me. I wanted to pay tribute to my parents, pay tribute to Senegal, which is the country that kind of shaped me and built me, because when I moved here at the age of 20 or 21, that's all I knew. But also leave some kind of legacy for my children. I always talk to them, but this was a way for me that they can have something in writing that I can always go back and refer to and say, okay, you know what, this is what that has done, and what an example that we can try to follow. And then the school comes in also in the picture, and in the book I talk about it, where that day when I was getting ready to come back to the United States, and I go and see the kids always, and Seydou runs up to me and say, "You the one that built the school?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Last night I had a dream." And I said, "Wow, that's pretty cool. Why don't you tell me about the dream?" And he couldn't even remember what the dream was all about. He just looked at me, smiled, and ran away. And it took me a second to realize that the message he was trying to tell me, for the first time, he felt so at peace, so comfortable, so secure, that he had a good night of sleep that allowed him to have a dream. And Mo, I'm telling you, that was one of the experiences in my life that taught me so much in my 50 years on Earth. Just to see that the little things that we take for granted sometimes can change, a kid's life. So when it came to the title, like I said, that's why I was like, okay, that's it. It kind of summarizes everything. And for me, the book, I hope, will help people know that they cannot stop dreaming. They cannot stop, hoping that something good is going to happen. And if you work hard, if you are a good person and you try to do the best that you can, don't stop dreaming, because one day that dream becomes a reality. And that's what happened with Seydou. His dream became a reality.
So the book itself, you can get the book through that same website, right? The forgottenchildren.org. or on
You can
Amazon?
go in there on Amazon. So there's a link there that will take you to Amazon. But if you go directly also on Amazon.com, you will be able to see the book and purchase it.
It's a beautiful memoir. I highly
Thank you.
recommend it. And so, Seydou, has there been any updates, or how old is Seydou and how is he doing?
Seydou is doing amazing. Seydou is about 8 years old. Um, doing it, it's amazing how well the kids are doing at the school. I talk about a couple of cases where a kid that at 2 years old, his dad murdered his mother right in front of him. And when we found out about him, we did everything that we could to bring him to the school. And that kid right now, like I said, he was not speaking to anybody. He was not even speaking Wolof when he first got there, because he's from a village that they speak a language called Serer. And it's amazing. I was just there in October, and he's doing so well. I think the last test that they did, he was, I think, either second or third in his class. And they take a break and they go outside and they play soccer, and he loves playing soccer. And he's the captain of that age group. And you see the transformation of how well the kids are doing. And yes, we don't have a medical doctor, a psychiatrist that's in there that is helping them, which is something hopefully that one day we can. But the love that the staff has, my brother Mas, how well he takes care of them and interacts with them every single day. Mas is at that school sometime until midnight because he wants to make sure that everything is good. The kids, goes to bed and all that good stuff, and he makes sure everything is right, and he interacts with them on a daily basis. We are trying everything that we can, and you can just see how well it's helping the children. So that's absolutely a sight that I love to see when I go there.
Is there an age cap for the children? Like at 18, they are no longer going to be able to stay there, or what is your protocol for that?
So that's what we are trying to do right now. So the oldest is 15 right now. All the paperwork that we have, and we followed all the rules and regulations, allows us to extend to the age group and even go to high school level. We just have to be able to make sure that we can afford to do that. Mm-hmm. So as we, move forward right now, like I say, we're limiting it at that age. But as we continue to move forward and financially we can support that. Right now we have 95. The school is designed where tomorrow, if I could put 200 kids in there, I could. But it's just, like I said, being able to take care of all of them. So to answer to your question, yeah, as we grow and as we are becoming more sustainable, we definitely want to get it to all the way up to high school level.
What about trying to cultivate, and maybe you have this already in the works, cultivate to the point where they do go to college and get scholarships and so forth? Is that also part of the plan? And
Absolutely. We are working on that, and we talk about it every single day when we have our meetings. How do we help them? Hopefully get a scholarship and come here to Tucson. Go to other countries and be able to continue their studies. I am also working with Rotary International, and we are hoping that we can develop a curriculum for not only helping the children of the school at a certain age, 12 and up, because I believe that trade schooling also is so important that we can give that opportunity to the children that not only can they go to school, but also learn a trade. So, even at high school, they decide, okay, you know what, I don't want to continue. But they have learned a trade that will be able to help them, succeed and do what they need to do when they get out. So absolutely, all of those are ideas and things that we are working on implementing as well.
Now, before we close, I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention and ask you about your wife, Aja.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a fascinating story of the fact that you both come from Senegal,
Mm-hmm.
yet met for the first time in Tucson, Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
both
Mm-hmm.
going to the University of
Mm-hmm.
Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
How did that all happen? How did you end up meeting and like finding out that you were both from
Mm-hmm.
the same country? It's interesting when you look at the way the world works and how you go
Absolutely.
from, a completely different side of the world. And you come to
Mm-hmm.
Tucson, Arizona, and you
Mm-hmm.
find the love of your life,
Mm-hmm.
who's
It's
from the
amazing,
same
man.
place.
Exactly. When they say, when things are meant to be, that's exactly the story behind all of this with Aj, a woman of faith, a hard worker, and when I came to the United States, I couldn't remember. It's either she came here a week before me or I came here a week before her. She had brothers and sisters here already, so. The Center for Second Language at the university. That's where she was going. That's where I was at, and that's where we met. And I always joke, and I said, I remember, we were in that classroom, and the way you were sitting and the way I was sitting, all you saw was my profile, and that was the end of it. You were like, okay, this is it. That's the man of my dream. And she always laughs about that. But that's exactly what happened. We had to travel miles and miles away to come here to Tucson, out of all places. And, it just faith. And it was just meant to be. That's the only
Was she
explanation for
born
that.
and raised in the same area, the same region as you?
I would say probably about an hour and a half from where my parents are from and where her parents are from. So, yeah. And again, you think about it and you're like, okay, well, we have to leave a different continent to be able to meet. And like I said, it was just one of those that was meant to be. And here we are, 26 years being married, and her support and her believing in what I do. Me leaving, traveling, going to Senegal, and leaving her behind with the kids, and for her to take care of the household and the kids. And she's been a tremendous, tremendous help and support.
So you are really an example that I think needs to be highlighted. I think that a lot of people unfortunately take for granted what they have, whether it just be a roof over their head,
Mm-hmm.
the ability to support themselves and their families.
Mm-hmm.
And you have gone above and beyond just that. You have grown your family by dozens and dozens,
Mm-hmm.
by building this entire I'll call it a school, but it's also
Mm-hmm.
like a way of just bringing and cultivating people
Mm-hmm.
into society so that they can be successful in building
Mm-hmm.
those tools, especially children who have been left for dead for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Like they would not have a future.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, the Forgotten Children, the forgottenchildren.org, it's a 501c3 nonprofit. And each year, is it always in October that you have your annual event?
We try to, yeah, we
Yeah.
try to do it in October, yeah, yeah.
And do you have anything else that you want to mention or pitch?
Well, first of all, let me say thank you to you. This platform that you created to give an opportunity and allow people to come on and share their stories and just be able to contribute and explain the way they do it. I think it's something that I have to applaud you for doing that. You're a busy man, but you are taking your time on a Sunday to be, like I said, open up that opportunity for us to come on and share what we do. So, kudos to you and kudos to what you do in your professional career to help make a difference. And it's just an amazing thing. I want to thank the people that believe in this cause. I think being such a low-key nonprofit organization and what we've done all these years, it's huge and only possible because of people like yourself and the community and individuals believing in the cause and helping us. And I just cannot thank them enough. And I just hope and pray that we can continue to do what we do to support the kids, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. We are all aging, and who knows what's next. So we've done everything that we could. Now, let's give an opportunity for those children to come in and, do what they need to do and be able to be high level society community members. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see. I envision 5, 10, 15 years from now, your website showing profiles of some of these children and show how they blossomed, becoming, whatever trades they decide to do, or maybe go into professional life or become a doctor, or, it's going to be interesting and I think exciting to see that the fruits of what you've created. And so you go by El, but your name is Elhadj, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on and joining me. And again, the organization's called The Forgotten Children, and you can go to the website, theforgottenchildren.org. And this is Immigration Ain't Easy. Thank you to Emma, my daughter and producer, for editing this and splicing up the part where I lost you. I think we need to just keep supporting organizations like what you've created. So thanks so much, El.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mo. And thank you, Emma. I appreciate it.